Okay guys, so now that we're conversant with the buttons, let's try to design first of all a logo on a plain white background. Let's see how to do a logo on a plain white background. Okay, so let's go. The first thing we do is we come here, delete this text, then we go to here is our background. We choose a plain white background. This plain white background, we say okay. Then what symbol are we using for the logo? We already have some symbols downloaded. You should have any that you want to use. You can always download from what we've been taught. So I click on plus from gallery. So I'll pick the symbol I want to use. Okay, I want to use this symbol. Okay, I want to use this symbol. I'm cropping out the name because I'll still type my own name there. So I'm using this symbol. This is like for an engineering workshop or stuff. You can see the hammers, the spanner sign there. So I've cropped it. I say good. So it has appeared. This is the symbol. Alright. So here we have the symbol. So what's the name of the company? Now please note that you can play around with this symbol. You can change the color. Okay, just go to shapes, go to color, you enable color. You see, you can change the color to whatever you want it to be. You can change it to white, you can change it to blue, you can change it to whatever, but I want to leave it the way it was. I think I'm cool with the way it was, so I do undo. It goes back. So what text? What's the company name? I go to text, add text, click on text, then let me change the size, text size. Okay, so what text? Let me go to edit. So I want to edit text now. I go to edit. So let me say Banax. Banax is a popular engineering name. Let's use Banax. Banax Engineering. Okay, then I OK it. The text is quite large. Let me reduce it. Size, I go to reduce. Okay, can leave it at 50. Okay, I leave it at 50. Let me just expand it so that it will be on the same line. See, as I'm stretching it, it will go to the same line. So I position it properly under here. Okay, so I can decide to increase it a little more so that it will be bold. Alright, I position it. So I say okay, so am I comfortable with the font type? That's the type of font I'm using. I can go to font to change it. So what type do I want? Now these are fonts that comes with this app, but you can download your own fonts. If I click my fonts, you see the fonts I've downloaded. These are the ones I've downloaded. So let me use Victorian Art Magic as my font. Okay, you see it. So Banax Engineering. So am I comfortable with this font color? I can say okay, let me use red for my font color. For my font color, I go to color, I say red. But better still, see another thing I can do. I can create a red background and use a black text. What do? I go back to color, select black, then I say okay. So I'll go to shapes, under shapes, I select shapes, I select rectangle. I think it's rectangle that is called. So I'll make it into something like this, bring it down, Okay, then I say okay. Then what do? I send to back. So I want to fill the color of my shapes. Now I want it to be red color. Red color, I go to color, enable, I say red. So you can see I have a red background with a black text. So, and I think I'm cool with this. Okay, look at what we have here. Now, what else do I want to do? Now, I want to work on two of them at once. Now, you can see I talked about layers in our previous, and when I was introducing the icons, I talked about layers. Now, let me show you what layers is about. Now, the text and that background and this symbol, there are three different layers. Now look at them. The text, the symbol, and the background. But I want to merge them to become one object so I can work on them at once. Okay? So watch what I do to merge them. Let me position this properly first. Okay? Now watch what I do to merge them. I go to layers, I click on this icon here, then I select the three things I want to merge. Having selected them, I click on this sign. This sign is merge. So are you sure you want to merge? I say okay. So I merge them, they have become one object. So if I'm working on anything I'm doing now applies to everything because they have become one object. So what do I want to do now? I go to shapes. Let me do shadow. Let me create a shadow around it. I select, let me create a shadow around it. I go to shadow. I say enable. Now you see I've enabled shadow. Then let me reduce my blur radius to say about 4, so that it will not be too blurry, to 4. Then offset, I just increase this a little. Offset Y. Now you can just play around these things. Okay, until you get what you want. So I've added my shadow. I say okay. So what else do I want to do? I want to emboss it. Now I go to emboss. I click on emboss, enable. You can see I've embossed it. So my embossed light angle, while you're playing around it just depends on what you're comfortable with. If it gets to what you're okay with, creativity is relative. So let me say I leave it here. Then I go to my intensity, I take it to 100. Then I go to my ambient light. I can decide to reduce or increase depending on what I want. I want to increase my hardness. Hardness makes it sharper. Okay, hardness makes it sharper. So let me just increase all the hardness. Okay, you can see it's really sharp. Then my bevel level, I want to reduce it. Let me reduce my bevel. Okay, that's it. I'm okay with this. So I click good. Alright, so what's the next thing I want to do? I want to turn it to a 3D. So I go to my 3D shape, I click 3D. I say enable 3D. Now look at what I have. Okay, now I can determine the depth of my 3D, whether I want it deeper. You can see the depth of my 3D, but I don't want it so deep. I think this will do. Okay, then depth color, I can choose depth color. Okay, now depth color means that depth that is going inside, I can actually change the color of the depth. But since we're using a white background, let me leave the depth color. Then another thing we have access to here is rotate. Now you can play around how you want the position of this logo to be. For example, just watch as I do X rotation. You can see as I'm rotating the logo, you can see the rotation. Okay, then Y rotation, look at the rotation. Okay, so let's go back. Let me do the rotate I want. So let me just rotate it. Now rotate it this way. Now you can see you can also use this to rotate it. You have to rotate it in a manner that it will be legible. Okay, where's my rotate? You have to rotate it in a manner that it will be legible. So let's say I do this and I do that. Alright, so these my Banax engineering, you can actually manipulate this until you're comfortable with it. I don't want this video to be too long, until you're comfortable with it. So that's the logo. Okay, so I'm going to leave you now to try to do something on a white background. Let's see how it comes out. Do something on a white background. Let's see how it comes out. Okay, so do something on a white background. Let's see how it comes out. So remember saving. If I want to save, I go here. Always save as project before you save as image. Now if I save as project, it means I can always go back to edit it. Let me say logo 6. Then I've saved as project. Then my friend, I've saved that project, so I now go back to save as image. Now saving as image, do I want to save as JPEG? Yes. Default, then save to gallery. If I want to share, I click on share. So I'm saving to gallery. So saved. So please go ahead and do yours and let me see.